Emma Galland is a tantric and holistic sex coach dedicated to helping men deepen their presence, heal from challenges like erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation naturally, and liberate their sexual power to lead both in the bedroom and the boardroom. Bringing the experience of a nomadic life, living in France, Sweden, Switzerland, India, and America, and a background in health and nutrition coaching, personal training, and yoga instruction, Emma integrates a holistic approach to sexuality and well-being. Through her platform, Tantric Awakenings, she offers guidance on transforming sexual energy into a source of vitality and confidence. Emma's work emphasizes the profound impact of tantric practices on men's lives, fostering deeper connections and personal empowerment. Gosh, there's a lot to go through. Thank you so much for joining us today from New York. I'll dive straight into it with I don't know, it's the easy question or a hard question, but I wonder if you could share a little bit of your upbringing with us, what were your formative years like, and can you draw a link from the person you were then to the person you are today?
It sounds very much like a philosophical question. Thank you for having me on your show, Andrew. So I was born in France and I was raised in a Catholic environment, going to church on Sundays, going to Bible schools when I was a little girl. So that's my upbringing. And there was always, and France is, the first daughter of the church, as we say. So Catholic, culturally speaking, with those values. So sex is something that you keep privately. Sex is something you do when you have a partner. Sex is a little bit of a taboo and shameful. I found I carried shame, or I carried a bit of guilt for having desires and dating, and always feeling a little bit uncomfortable around this, and having been judged also by family members, by men in the society, for being adventurous and just wanting to find love and discovering and dating a lot and things like that. So I carried that a little bit of a conditioning and a weight around sexuality. And I felt that every time I started very young, feeling the energy of sex as vital energy. And not necessarily sex, in sexual energy versus making loves are two different things, right? You can feel that vibrance in your womb as a woman, or the vibrance in your penis as a man. There's that electric charge that it makes you feel so alive and adventurous, and that livelihood I felt very much so. And I started traveling on my own abroad when I was 13. Ireland was my first place, and 14 was England. And I would go alone in the summer. My parents would let me go. I would hitchhike and I just would discover the world. And I felt I was so vibrant and so sexually charged without yet being sexual. So then I went through those years, then when becoming sexual, carry on that sexual energy with me being judged for being sexual. So I had then started to feel that it doesn't feel good. It feels good in my body, but it feels like I'm doing something wrong. So fast forward to so I went through you know, my career, my life, as a holistic health coach, as a fitness instructor. I was also a management consultant for many years while having my own business in healthcare. And sexual vitality in my coaching and my life coaching and health coaching of my clients, and was always something that was underlying the health issues of my clients. Their lack of vitality was always rooted, I could feel, in sexual repression or relationship issue or lack of integrity and integration in their body. So then that's why we overeat. That's why we develop illnesses, because at the very core of us, there's discomfort, right, with who we are. Um, I turned to Tantra about 20 years ago, found my teacher, and I was a woman who had overcome her own shame, her own repression, her own discomfort with being a sexual woman. And I started learning, and it coincided also with me learning about yoga, which is really a pathway to self-realization. Yoga is getting to know your body, embracing your body as a pathway to the spiritual. And what a different mindset when you grow up Catholic and the pathway to spiritual is letting the body behind as a source of sin, don't masturbate, don't touch yourself. Sex is for children, procreation. And so really, if you want to be a saint, you have to bury yourself in prayer and be basically disembodied. Come to Tantra, and then you're discovering that actually the pathway to bliss, enlightenment, self-realization, and a higher spirit is through the body, because your human experience is an embodied experience. And I was mind blown by this. And that's really what sparked my journey. And then I married to a man that I really, really love. And the marriage was amazing, but I was not fully myself in the marriage, because the sexuality that I wanted wasn't the one that my husband wanted. And at the end of the day, after 10 years of amazing partnership, I had the courage to tell him, this is the kind of sex life I want in my marriage. And he said, I know, you're so adventurous, and it's not who I am. And so there we are, two amazing people who build businesses together, who travel together, who love each other so deeply, have to part because of sexual differences. He's asexual. 20% of men and women are asexual, and we'll talk about it. And I'm ultra sexual and adventurous and polyamorous. There's something totally different about me. And so there we were. We decided, how do we do this? How do we keep the love? How do we keep what we have? How do we keep our business? How do we keep, but we are no longer, we dissolve that container. So COVID happened right at that time, which was perfect, because then you're quarantined and you have to figure it out, mourn together, grieve together, cry all the time in each other's arm and think, how are we going to do this? And we did. And I followed truly for the first time in my life. When I told my truth, I felt integrated. I felt I was saying yes to my pussy, yes to my womb, yes to my femininity, yes to who I am, yes to my heart, yes to my voice, yes to my soul. And I felt a high, the same high I had when I was a little innocent girl, just riding her sexual energy. And I thought, this is true. And I saw him also be liberated to finally not having to fit in a case or trying to please his wife. And it just energetically, it didn't work. So I found actually that honoring and integrating my sexuality led me to a place of joy and a place of deeper love for myself, which expanded my heart so big that I was able to hold my grief, to hold that love I had for that man, to figure things out. And he's my best friend. We hang all the time. It's just amazing. So wanting to say this is that it went from being disembodied and at odds with myself to fully integrated in my body and being able to do the work I love and really not caring for what the world think. Following your truth, being aligned, and life is just joyful when you're integrated. So that's a little bit of
Wow. That's something that I don't think many people experience. I think the truth of who they are, because we, I think, and you said the word at the beginning, we are conditioned to a certain way of living, whether it be the way our parents did, whether it be the way society deems appropriate, and we either, and as you mentioned, we either overeat, we indulge in alcohol, we think porn addiction is a big issue now, and we try and fill that hole with something that's not going to help. Really, it's a short-term spike when you first see porn, but then you need more and more. First-term spike when you drink, you need more and more, and it's it's a shame people don't realize necessarily what it is they're really looking for, and I guess that's quite hard. So how as a human being, so these are quite philosophical, sorry, how do we know what we're looking for, what we're seeking?
You feel it. It's the felt sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all the time. So most people, and men especially, I love working with men, and we'll talk about this if you want, but are leading their life from their brain, from their rational brain, their left
Yeah.
brain. We have, if we were simplifying the brain, we have three brains: the rational brain, your neocortex, the left side; the thinking brain, like the one that does math; and then we have our limbic system, which is our emotional brain, which doesn't have any speech, doesn't speak, but it does speak in sensations in the body. It's the expansion, contraction, tingling, light, heavy, hot, cold. This is the language. And different parts of the body will speak. You'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel it in your gut, like you have a hollow gut, or you have a heavy heart, or you have tight shoulders. Like this is the limbic brain. And then you have the reptilian brain. I call it the primal brain, but it's reptilian brain. And it's your fight, flight, freeze mode, right? And so how do you know? It's by letting go of the mental reason, like the thinking brain, and listening to your body. And your body speaks to you all the time. You eat something that doesn't reconcile with you, you feel heavy, or you feel like you need a nap after lunchtime, after dinner time. It's the body talking to you. If you're feeling tired in the morning, body talking to you. If you feel angry, sad, happy, joyful, right? Emotions are the body's talk. So how do you know? Does it pull you forward? Does it make you feel so joyful, so happy, so alive? That's probably where you need to go. Does it feel, are you afraid of taking that step, but you know deep down inside it's the right step? That's probably where you need to go. So if you feel shame, discomfort, all of this, it's the body. And actually, because I studied holistic medicine, integrative medicine, had amazing doctors there, and Dr. Siegel had said pain is a gift, because pain shows you where the change needs to be made. And as long as you're in pain, the change isn't finished. But when the pain disappears, you've arrived. And so if you can welcome in your body and learn how to understand the body language and follow its cues, then you will find the path. Instead, what we do is we numb, or we carry so much dissonance that we can't hear ourselves. The body will numb out, right? Because it's too uncomfortable. So to protect us, we'll start feeling less and less. Or we'll numb with alcohol, with eating too much food. Porn addiction is a way of numbing. We'll talk about porn. I spend a lot of time helping men overcome porn addiction. But all of those things are we distract ourselves, or we numb ourselves. And then anyway, our body will numb itself as well. We'll feel less after a while. And so the way to get back to you is to resensitize yourself, so that you can really feel loud and clear where your discomfort is. And then you have to move into action, trusting in yourself. You get confident when you take confident action.
It's a very powerful explanation, and I think we've sort of seen our bodies and our minds as separate entities, and we might train our bodies physically. We might go to the gym, we might run, we might do all these intense activities to look and think we're feeling good, but that's almost a different body to the inner body, the one that you say is sort of talking to you and you need to listen to, whatever. And I think one of the things that I talked to a somatic healer a few months ago in Hawaii, and one of the things she said that I thought was really interesting, and I'd love your view, is that when we grow up, when we first reach puberty, or we first have feelings that we're not sure what they are, and ultimately we understand them to be sexual feelings, the first thing we're likely to do is to explore how that feels in ourselves, to masturbate. And I think one of the challenges when you are relatively young and you're experimenting for the first time doing these sort of things, then your biggest fear will be somebody bursting into the room or knocking on the door. So you do it very, very quickly, and it's very surreptitious, very hidden, and quickly get yourself off, and then it's the next thing. And what she was saying is that we've never learned to spend time with our own bodies. So how often do we get to sit, whether it's to lay on the bed or lay on the grass or whatever, and just explore our own bodies for an hour? People just don't. So, but therefore, if we don't know our own bodies, how can we truly know what to communicate to somebody else to pleasure us or to pleasure them? And I just wonder what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so actually we do explore our bodies a lot when we're little. If you look at little, but let's start there. A 1-year-old boy or girl, they actually masturbate in plain sight. Oh, they'll be walking in the mall and then they'll be reaching and then starting to fondle their genitals, right? Because naturally they have no notion that it's not something you're supposed to do, right? So naturally
Then the
they're
parent
embodied.
goes, "Stop it! It's
Correct. And
dirty.
that's
Stop
where
it!
it
It's naughty."
begins.
And that
That's where
shame
it
begins.
begins. That's it. So this is the reason why we're not in a hurry and we don't do it, because we have very young been told, don't do this, instead of do this, but do this in your bedroom. It's more comfortable, right? And take your time, honey, right? But this is your private body. This is like, if we were having this and giving permission right away to our toddlers to spend time in their bedroom when they want to, naturally it would be very different. That, oh, don't put your hand there. I've had that personal experience and I remember it very vividly. And that, I think, was the beginning of the end. So yes, so the way then, and as adults, we reconnect with our body then is exactly that, right? Somatic coach, tantric coach as well. So this is it. It's spending time with yourself and carving out the space. And what you'll see is when you start doing this, most likely you'll be uncomfortable. Women especially will be uncomfortable dedicating the time to self-pleasuring and discovering themselves, because what will come up first will be all the conditioning. So when you start connecting with your body, all that is against you doing what you're doing will show up first. So your first experience of masturbation may actually be one of speed, of discomfort, of numbness. You may not feel anything. That's why you have to use vibrators, or you have to use porn, or you have to do things to kind of raise the excitation. There's a difference between excitement and excitation. Basically looking for external means to turn you on or to speed it up, because you are not sensitive enough, because you're desensitized. So all of the problems will show up basically when you start carving out the space to explore your sexuality. But that's the pathway. You have to get there. You have to go through there in order to reconnect. So yes, I agree with her. But it's conditioned that we're not doing this. It's not natural.
It's funny how there's things that we get told or hear when we're very young, how much we carry them with us for such a long time. People might think, oh, just a throwaway comment, and it's, gosh, our body holds on to those things for a long, long time.
Everything. We're sponges when we're little.
We are the same. You think how quickly how quickly people grow, for goodness sake. I've got a 18-year-old and 15-year-old daughter and son now. I can literally remember carrying my daughter home from the hospital. It just, then within 1 year it's this, and 2 years it's this, and 5 years it's this. It's just extraordinary how quickly their brain, and they're so hungry for information. They're like a computer waiting to be loaded up with more and more data and information and knowledge and things. And but hold on to all of it. What do you think about the notion of, I guess, sort of inherited knowledge or inherited trauma from our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents? Do we carry something of them with us?
In the tantric realm, yes.
Okay.
You carry, and the way you carry this is because your parents carry their parents. So there's this conditioning that is transmitted. So energetically, my mother went through war. She lived in a country where there was a war, and there was her mother and her grandmother. So there's been a lot of different generational carrying of war. And you can feel in your body, in my body, that there's a sensitivity or lack of tolerance for certain stressors.
Mm-hmm.
And so you carry this, yes, you transmit that. And then there's the karma. So do we carry other people's karma and all of that? Yes, but you don't need to, and that's the power of the body and working with the tantric way and the somatic way. You don't need to understand the story. You need to work in the here and now with manifestations of stress in your body. So whatever is, that's the difference between somatic work and talk therapy. Talk
Mm-hmm.
therapy, you'll be just trying to understand the story, which is really important. We will not heal the body because it's all in the head.
Mm.
Once you get into somatic healing, then you're looking at in the here and now, what is the behavior I'm experiencing right now, not once in a while or not this morning, because you cannot work on this morning now, but now, right now, what am I feeling? And if I feel any tension related to that story, then I can work on it now in its physical manifestation in the body. So it doesn't matter what you carry or where it's coming from. What matters is that you are sensitive to how you feel in the here and now, and you address the body's needs and wants in the here and now. That's how you heal. And if you're able to be present and do the work in the moment of discomfort, you will release the pent up story or the pent up trauma.
For people that perhaps are unfamiliar, do you have a definition of what Tantra is,
Mm-hmm.
and how it differs from other perceptions of people might have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of definitions out there that are not, that are popular or
Yeah.
that are definitely not what Tantra is. So Tantra and Tantra Sexuality are two different things, but they're really, so Tantra is the body of knowledge and wisdom and tools and practice that you would use to live a life that will lead you to self-realization. And it includes everything from philosophies, rules, behaviors, mindset, um, way to eat, way to organize your life, way to move your body. Yoga, Tantra yoga will be the yoga arm of Tantra, and then the way to make love. So Tantra Sexuality is carrying the principles of Tantra in your sex life. And Tantra sex and conventional sex are two different experiences, and we can talk about that too if you want. But that's basically a body of knowledge that leads you to liberate yourself. Because when you live this way, and when you do those things, and you feel it, like everybody who will use Tantra will reach self-realization. The proof is in the pudding. I don't need to convince you. It's not a religion. It's not about believing. It's about using the tools, and you'll see. Just like if you were stressed out and you're going to do box breathing, oh, right away, I feel good. I don't need to tell you and convince you about box breathing. Try it and see what happens. So that's this. So that's the construct that you can use for self-realization. And tantric sex is when you use the tantric principles and tools. There's a lot of different tools, and we'll talk about them. And when you use them in your lovemaking, whether it's solo, in masturbation, or in partnered sex, you will have this experience where you reach a mindset shift and an elevation, and you feel better for it. And you feel more connected to your body and all those things that lead you to growing as a human.
Mm.
And you can use tantric, so in tantric sex, and where I think the definition has been distorted is you can use tantric sex tools and principles to have better sex. Let's say better orgasms, or if a woman cannot orgasm, she could reach orgasm, or different types of orgasm. Men can become multi-orgasmic as well, using those tools. You can have better sex, but you can also use it for sacred sex. And that's when you learn how to transmute your sexuality into spirituality. So you can use your sexual energy, and you can feel sexual energy. You can feel it in your groin, in your roots, and you can alchemize it to feel it in your gut, maybe to heal digestive issues or to feel more confidence. You can alchemize it as heart energy so that you can heal grief and You can expand your heart and feel connected to love and compassion and feeling just a more loving person. You can use that sexual energy and transmute it for deepening your intuition, or for a connection with the universe and the sacred, and just for living a more spiritual life, right? That's when you choose the tantric sex as sacred sex. But the tool, the body of knowledge is the same. The intention would be different.
Okay. And you said well, you said a lot of things that I want to ask about.
I did, right?
You did. So you said that tantric sex and, say, regular sex are different, and I guess a couple of things on that. One, and I'm not trying to excuse behavior that people have or whatever, but a lot of people, if you've been in a relationship for a period of time, it might be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, sex becomes, for some people, sex becomes something of a habit that it might happen on a Saturday morning while the kids are asleep, or it might happen on a Sunday when the kids are with the grandparents, whatever. And it's it might have been a similar thing for the last 2 years, 5 years, 20 years. So how would tantric sex or tantra sex, sorry, I forget the words wrong, how would that manifest itself differently than regular sex, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. The first one is intention. So when you do sex the tantric way, there's an intention for these sexual sessions. So your intent, and when you set the intention, you lay the ground for the experience you'll have. In conventional sex or regular sex, as you said, there's no intention. It's like, oh, I'm horny, let's have sex, or oh, the timing is right, let's have sex. But there is no intention. It's just like, let's do it like we've always done it. And that's how it becomes boring. And that's how you actually lose sensation. And that's how eventually you even stop having sex altogether. In tantric sex, you'll say, the intention for today is, I want to experience love, or I want to experience passion. It could be a flavor of sex, or it could be, I want to connect with you deeper today, or I want to move through my grief. I'm feeling a lot of grief right now, and I just want to move through grief. So you have an intention, or I want to practice surrender. I want to be present today, or I want to just feel deeper today. Whatever, there is an intention, and will set the tone for your masturbation or for your experience. And then it's about first connecting with your body. So you're going to be very present in the experience, and there is no goal. So you have an intention, I want to surrender, let's say. It's a great one for women, because women have a hard time often achieving orgasm if they're focusing on goal. You have to be in a state of surrender in order to really just welcome things as it comes. For men, it could be, I want to be present, because men do brain sex. They're like, am I going too fast, too slow? Does she like it? Does she like it? How can I keep it together? Oh my God, I'm about to come. I have to like hold back, hold back, hold back. This like, what position should I do? Should I shift her head? It's always in the head. So instead, it could be, I want to be present in my body. That's your intention. It's a great intention for a man. And so how you're going to go, you're going to first connect. So we use breath work. We use sound. Sound can actually expand energy in your body. You can start to feel sensations more. Connecting with the body is like, what do I feel in my senses when I have sex? What does she smell like? What does it smell like, our sex today? What does it taste like? What does it feel like in my touch against my body? So all of the senses, what does it, what do I hear? Do we sound or do we not? Can we talk to each other? I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. So you're intentional, and you're resensitizing yourself, and you're present in your touch so deeply. And tantric sex, because it's embodied and it's being sex as opposed to doing sex. How are you in sex? You don't have to think about what's the next move. You don't even have to thrust. And that's the other thing too. Conventional sex is a thrusting motion, but tantric sex is actually a screwing motion, because you're thinking about your penis as messaging open yourself and your partner and your partner's massager. So if you were using your penis as a massager, that would be a very different thing, because you're going to want to have now shifting your weight in different position to feel like, what does the top of my penis feel like, the side, the bottom, what's the base feeling right now, and what am I feeling 130 on one, like, so you can start feeling, is there numbness on the left top corner of my penis, but there's too much sensation or tightness on the right corner. So you can start feeling yourself like this. And that's a work that women can do too. They can feel, I don't feel much on the left side, or I feel too much, or I feel it's sore here. There's a knot. There's a something. So you become so sensitive. What does my skin feel like? So when sex is like this, and with your intention, if your intention is presence, you're going to be so present, and you're really going to let your body guide you through this intention, using your breath, using your sound, using your five senses. There's just so many tools that you can use. And so when you're present in sex this way, first, the sensations become a million times bigger, because frictions desensitize.
Mhm.
And in fact, too much friction will harden both penis and vagina. That's one of the problems with porn, and how men become so desensitized they can't have regular sex after a while, because it's just, there's no mind body connection. Here you become so sensitive that it's so rich, and you can actually make love for hours and hours. One of the couple I work with, he's 76 and she's 70, and they're making love 3 hours a week, 3 times a week, 3 hours a session, 3 times a week. And they just started this. We just started working together 2 months ago, and they hadn't had sex in 20 years. She wasn't interested. He said, my wife is not sexual. I'm like, so women are more sexual than men. If she's not sexual, it's that she's not getting what she needs. She's not getting what she wants, right? She's not having a mind-blowing experience that is so embodied. So you need to learn. And so he learned. And now she can't wait. She wants it every day. And it's just amazing. Their sex life is incredible. It's so rich, and there is no goal. It's just we show up, we go, and we see what's there. That's tantric sex. And it's so amazing for men because it's non-performative. You don't have to perform anymore. And if your penis is not rising, you're okay with it too. The penis is always right. I always say that too. Man, your penis is never wrong. It's always right. If it's not rising up to the occasion, listen. Maybe he's not really turned on by the new partner. Then why are you in bed with this woman? Or maybe there's something else. Maybe it's not because you've drunk too much. That's okay. It's just like you need to take better care of your body. Maybe you have a blockage somewhere, like whatever, it's always right. And so if you can meet your penis, or it could be that you're disconnected. Penis is asking you to embody penis. Your manhood, your character, your energy should be inside your penis. You penetrate with your whole manhood, with your whole self, with your whole heart. And if your heart is wounded, you penetrate anyway when you show that grief, right? Or you show what it is. You can use your penis as a wand of, it's actually called lingam in Tantra, which means wand of light. You choose what you carry through this saber, almost like the Jedi. This penis can carry your light, can carry your heart, it can carry your soul. It can be a healing penis, it can be an passionate penis today, whatever this energy. That's tantric sex. It's so intentional. You feel yourself, you meet yourself exactly as you are right now, and how your partner is, and you focus on you just as much as your partner, but first you, because your partner will focus on her if she's a tantrika. And so you both come together so aware of yourself, you can meet yourself in the middle and merge together and create that magic. And so sex becomes this adventure you get on, breath by breath, twist and turn, and you stop it when you decide, okay, I'm good. I feel rejuvenated. I feel good. I feel connected. I feel present. You don't end with ejaculation. In fact, ejaculation is not needed to have a mind-blowing orgasm for a man. We can talk about the difference between ejaculation and orgasm, but you basically end it when you feel like this is good. 8 hours went by. I need to go back to work. Oh, 2 hours went back. I'm feeling hungry. Let's go have something to eat. So that's how you end it, you know? It's a totally different experience.
Why doesn't everybody in the world know this? why didn't I know this?
I have an answer for this if you want it.
No, tell me why. Yeah, why don't we? Well, or maybe we
It's the
do.
same reason why we shame sex, because when you have sex this potent, you feel like a free man and a free woman. You feel unstoppable. You feel so creative. People who have sex like this, everything start being incredible in their lives. They make more money. There's no argument. Kids are happy. Just you become so free, so accomplished because you feel accomplished inside. You feel so whole that you enter life this way. There is no controlling you. Sexual freedom is scary for a society
Yeah.
that thinks that we can't control you anymore, because really, seriously, you do not care anymore about anybody else's views of you. You're going to go and you're going to do what is right for you, right? When you have a sex disquality, you cannot stay in a job that doesn't reconcile with you. Here's the thing. The reason why people do job they hate or stay in the relationships they hate, it's because they are not having this kind of joy inside themselves, this freedom. There's a freedom when you have a sex like this that makes you think, I feel so good in sex. I feel so awful. Like you feel so sensitized and so present and so good in that container. You cannot tolerate anything in your life that makes you feel awful. So everything will go. The friends that are just not friends, they'll be gone. You will, no time waste there. You leave the job. Even if you don't know yet what's next, you would dare taking the risk of quitting, right? You will leave your marriage, or you will marry that person you really want to, that the parents hate, right? You will start doing things that make no sense to other people. And I wish everybody did this, because in the end, our society would be a lot better if people really aligned with what they're supposed to do in this world. But that is why religion really, in the beginning, I mean, still now, really looked at sex, and why the matriarchy. I don't know if you've read Sex at Dawn, this New York
Yes.
Times bestseller that right? We were a matriarchy before, very different. And
Yeah.
then you saw the evolutions, and sex is the first thing you're going to curtail because it's a path to freedom. And tantric sex is a path to freedom. Regular sex can actually be a place to enslave yourself, because where all of your trauma is repeated over and over again. So just that's the difference. Unconsciously, people don't realize that. But you realize it when you start having this kind of sex life, that you are free and you are no longer afraid of making the big, bold changes and quantum leaps you need to make in your life, so that your whole life is a reflection of how you feel in your sex. And this is why Tantra looks at sexuality as it's holy ground, because when you can reconcile the dissonance around your sexuality, which is the deepest core of us, then all of the other external dissonance will be easy to dismantle. Make sense? Instead, we let ourselves be oppressed, and then our sex lives be even more oppressive, and we don't have any sex, or we have quick sex. And that's one thing, if I may carry on with premature ejaculation. One of the reasons for premature ejaculation, and literally when I start working with guys, in 1 month it's over, and they become marathoners, because one of the reasons for premature ejaculation is the fear of intimacy. Because in order to go from 15 minutes, which actually is a lot, because 75% of men it's 3 minutes, right? So 15 minutes, you're already like in the top 30% of the population. But if you're going to be the hour long quickie, for you to stay from 15 to an hour, you have to have staying power, and meaning you have to meet yourself in your vulnerability. Because when you stay, imagine missionary position for an hour, and the tantric way is not exhausting, okay? It's slow sex. But you're going to stay and you're going to look at someone's eyes for an hour. What you're going to start seeing is yourself, because you see yourself in somebody else's. And then you're going to start feeling your erections will change. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about tantric sex that I love so much, is feeling a penis going from really hard to softer to mid-soft. Like I can feel a man's energy in the variation of his penis strength. But you are there as the man, feeling your body shifting and starting to worry. Poof, so you worry, your shame, your lack of confidence, it's all coming to you. And you have to have staying power. And it's that fear of meeting yourself in intimacy that makes you want to get out. And the faster way to get out is ejaculate. So cultivating that intimacy with yourself and with someone, and the tools, there's some tools, some breath work and so on, that will help you cope with your anxiety. That's what you need to cultivate, right? Staying power and embracing intimacy.
You said before about the couple that came to see you and they hadn't had sex for the last 20 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, it's such a wonderful testament to you that they felt comfortable coming to you and sharing what I'm sure they felt at the time very personal and private. And they got to a point now where things are very different. And so I guess I've always thought of it as being something that you, Tantra or Tantric Sex, something that it's almost like Sisyphus pushing a stone up a hill, you never quite get there. It's something that you'd sort of develop so slowly, but you're just suggesting that you can see major changes in your life and your happiness and your harmony and your passion in a relatively short period of time. Is that
Right away?
Okay?
The first time even that you have sex this way, because again, it's having such a trust in the body. I trust the body so much.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pivotal moment in my life where, after my divorce, I met someone and I had just a one night encounter with this man. And this was the best sex of my entire life. And he wasn't tantric, and I was just, a student of Tantra, and I'll be for the rest of my life. But I had this experience where I don't know how many hours, I've lost track of it, but my experience is I had this experience of being split open, and all the sadness of my divorce came out, and then all the beauty of my courage came in, and all of the love for myself. And I had a G-spot, A-spot, cervical orgasm, nipple-gasm, crygasm, brain-gasm, and it kept on going and going, and it lasted for 7 days after in my body. And I felt freedom, connection. It just wasn't like if I had taken, any mushrooms or psychedelic. It was like just an incredible experience. And he did the same. We came out different from this experience. And I had this, and it was a one-time thing, and I didn't see him again. We stayed connected, but I got awakened in that one time. And it's because I was just so present, so there, and so was he. And he had staying power. That's why I also chose to work with men, is that I was crying my heart out, and he asked me, "Are you okay?" I say, "I am. Stay with me." And he stayed, and we kept making love, and I was crying and orgasming, and he was crying, and he was here, and he was transformed, and it was his energy, and I felt held, and I felt that his penis was opening me and kind of like sucking all of the pain. Penis can absorb negative energy from a woman's vagina, so it can be healing. I felt the healing power of this man's penis, and his presence and his strength and his grounding, and it's like all of the attribute. Man's power is his present, woman's power and nature is love. We have different things. I awakened to love, and his presence was transformative and transformed him too, right? This happens like this. And I didn't know all the tools that I know now. After that, I decided, okay, this is it. Now I'm going to school. No, seriously, I enrolled for teacher training. I was 6 years old. I was like, this is it. I'm doing this work. So this is what I mean. So this couple, and I want to say also, she's in her 70s. They don't need any lubrication. She is wet, wet, wet. And so I want to tell to all women here, oh shit, menopause doesn't make you dry. What does is lack of nurturing, vivacious, vital sex, right? This is it. And when you're having it, your whole body opens up. The water gates open too. So that's the beautiful thing, is that they are able to do in their 70s, and my teachers are in their 80s, and they're having the best sex of their life. And I love this because I'm in my late 40 and 49. I'm just knowing that I know it's going to get better in my 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. And why is that? Because you are more and more embodied, and you care less and less about the things we care about when we're in our 20s and 30s. And so you are more present, you are more energetic, and you can cultivate that energy. Make sure you care for your body, of course, with exercise and diet and good sleep and all those things. But your sexuality can, your energy, sexual energy can be vibrant even in menopause, right? So even if you have no more ovaries and you have no more womb, or you have, some surgery, men and women, around your sexual organs, you retain the vital energy in that location. So we're never diminished. And same for people who have had breastgasm. Is something men and women can have. It feels like an explosion orgasm. You can have it in any part of your physical body. There's tools to do that. But even a woman who would have had breast cancer and no longer her natural breast still carries the energy of the breast and able to have breast orgasms. So wanting to say this is that sex gets better as we grow older, and we just need to practice with the right tools.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes. Amen.
Wow, how amazing to meet that guy and have that experience. It's almost more powerful that it was a one-off thing.
Yes.
I mean, if you've been doing that every day, you'd be.
So now it's every day now. But at that time was my first time with this person. What I mean is, to your question, you asking that happen like how long? It's not how long, it's when you are literally present to yourself and to what's going on in the here and now, your body will show you the way. That's the other thing I wanted to say, and that's a somatic thing, is each part of your body is sentient. So it's not just the brain who's conscious. Each part of you is. So, and you can relate to that maybe when you think, like, when you're carrying grief, your heart is carrying and saying a lot, right? You can feel it in your heart. You don't feel it in your brain, you feel it in your heart. When you're, afraid of doing something, you're going to feel that in your gut. Like your gut, you're literally having a gut ache, right? So, and the brain can't think because you're so like petrified in your in your fear in your gut. So that you work with those body parts, and your penis and your vagina are sentient too. They know how to make love. You don't need to direct them. And that's the difference here also with regular sex versus conventional sex. And in tantric sex, is in regular sex, the brain drives a script. This is how we're supposed to make love. This is how we fuck. I've seen it there. I've seen it this. This is how it works. You're supposed to do like this. This is it. In tantric sex, is like, you know what? Let me connect to my penis, to my vagina, and let them lead. And what you'll see with men who have erectile dysfunction, I teach them the soft entry penetration. You can enter a vagina or feed yourself in a vagina soft. And you will see invariably, and do it even if you don't have erectile dysfunction, penetrate when you're just 20% or 30% hard. and wait, and you will feel the magnetic, there's a magnetism, there's electric charge in penis and vagina, which are opposite. Positive pole is the penis, negative pole is the vagina, and you will feel that your penis will come to life and your vagina will become plush and wet without moving at all. You could be half an hour there looking into each other's eyes, doing nothing, and you will see your genitals start talking to each other. And when you feel this, I invite you to stay connected to that feeling and let them lead and be really present, conscious inside your genitals rather than in your head as you move.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, and I can tell with my partner, I can tell when I say, John, get out of your head. I don't feel you anymore. I mean, he's in me, but I can't feel him. And he's like, sorry, honey. And I can right away, I can feel when he's fully present in his penis. Because I'm present in my vagina and suddenly I feel like he left.
Mm.
He's here, but he left. I can feel he's gone. I'm like, and a few times I said, John, you're not there. It's like, I'm having a hard time. So then let's stop this. Let's stop the session. Let's cuddle. Let's talk. I cannot, and women, stop wanting sex with you when you're not present. This is the number one thing. And I work with hundreds and hundreds of women and couples, like men and couples, because it's really interesting that dynamic. But women all tell me he's not present. I cannot stand it. And that's why. So it's a fascinating view of sex that changes
Mm.
everything. And it's not hard to do. It's harder
It's
to
interesting.
stay away.
Well, yeah, because before when you talked about premature ejaculation as a thing, I think one of the things that as a man, if you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to come too quickly, you do just find yourself trying to think of other things, go somewhere else,
Yes.
and almost
Yes.
disconnect from the sex, which is probably the completely wrong thing to do. You're trying to, just almost forget that I'm having sex. Right? Think about something bad. Think about airplanes. Think about buses. Whatever. You're thinking about anything to take you away from that feeling. Which, as a woman, I'm sure you can. Well, you just said you can sense. You know what's.
Mm-hmm.
The person's eyes are changing anyway. If you are looking at each other, there's something in their eyes that change, and I can completely
Yes.
understand when you say you immediately know when somebody's not present, because that is one of the things I think in our society today, in particular, that we have so many technological ways to connect. That's probably the wrong word, with people from anywhere in the world, any time of day or night. But I think that comes at the cost of being physically connected. And I think with lots of people, we probably feel less physically connected than we have for generations.
Never
Because we have
before.
this.
That's correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes, because things go faster.
Yes.
And so this is another difference between tantric sex and regular sex I did mention. It's speed.
Yeah.
So tantric sex is slow, relaxed sex.
Mm-hmm.
So to get back to your example of premature ejaculation and trying to avoid ejaculation and thinking about baseball scores,
Yes.
the key here would be to reach, and it's stressful, right? It's to relax.
Mm.
So when you start relaxing, you release tension. When you're stressed, tension is actually deepening and you're desensitizing, which accelerates ejaculation, because in order to delay ejaculation, you have to be extremely sensitive, so you can actually feel, on a scale of 0 to 10, when you're at 9.5 versus 9 versus 8.5. So when you're very sensitive, you can relax back into an 8 or 7. It's not through tension and forcing and squeezing to stop, although there's some squeeze technique, but more effective and more yummy, pleasurable, is to relax back into your lower belly, back up into your prostate. That's actually where you get into multiple orgasm, or prostate orgasm without ejaculation, is when you bring your pleasure and your turn on and you move it away from the tip of your penis, and you bring it back up into your abdomen. So in your prostate or in your lower belly or in your sacrum or different places, right? So away from shooting back. And so relaxing is all you need to do. A few breaths, learning different breathing technique that's very tantric, so that you can relax back, slow back down, and stay present in your penis first, and then with your partner.
And you talked before about, and I hadn't heard this before, so forgive me, the difference between ejaculation and orgasm for men.
Yes.
Prostate orgasm without ejaculating, and
Mm-hmm.
I know for women there's vaginal, there's G spot, there's
Yeah.
you said A spot, lots of different, and I wondered how do you? So it feels like you give me therapy now. How do you orgasm without ejaculating as a man?
So first we have to redefine the definition of orgasm.
Come on.
Orgasm for a man happen just a brief second before ejaculation.
Okay.
So resensitizing yourself so that you can feel the contractions of the prostate or the pelvic floor before semen is released. So men, your orgasm precedes ejaculation.
Yeah.
But because it's been thought as the same, there isn't this resensitization of trying to find that. And so it's learning how to get there. So get to that contractile. So an orgasm in Tantra, I would define it as pleasure, expansion of pleasure, and then mind shift. These are the three things you need. And then you can have, of course, physical manifestations of quivering or heat or expansion of energy, things like that, right? But so for a man, you have to basically practice solo first. You have to master this on your own. And it can take you a month, 2 months, or 3 months, or 6 months, depending on how much time you practice, basically, and how sensitive you become. So it's really, there's a whole process, but at the end of it, it's learning how to be able to slow down and resensitize yourself so much that you can get to that edge where you actually feel the orgasm. And then there's different techniques to squeeze your pelvic floor muscles and squeeze your prostate. You have to have both strength of muscles and intense relaxation to be really good at this. And most men and most women have very weak pelvic floor muscles because we go to the gym and we pump iron from our biceps. But as we see with age, all the muscles on the outside are becoming softer, and so are the muscles on the inside. So you need to do very specific exercises. And for men, it's practicing squeezing certain types of muscles you have muscles inside at the base of your shaft, inside where there's the connection, inside your body. You can squeeze, right, and prevent semen from passing. And you can also squeeze your prostate. You have muscles around the prostate that you can squeeze so nothing passes through, right? So learning how do I relax and at the same time have a very targeted squeeze in certain areas, right? But for now, gentlemen, as you practice just your masturbation, try to notice the difference, just a little bit of the orgasm before you ejaculate. And just if you can over time see this and then space out the two and then being able to even stop and just enjoy your orgasm, which is why then men are able to have 10 orgasms in 1 hour session, because you can go over and over and over and there's no refraction period because there hasn't been a release of semen. And then you can even take that orgasm, so that's localized, right? That's in around the genital area, but you can also take an orgasm to your brain. You can have a braingasm, moving your sexual energy. So you start feeling in the spine, your whole spine is tingling, and then your head is tingling. Inside the brain, it's tingling. And it's just an amazing thing. So you can be playful after your first, second, or third orgasm. You can say, hey, let me just get this sensation throughout my whole body. So that's when you learn to work with energy. But stop thinking that your orgasm and your ejaculation are the same. And you'll see, once you've mastered this, you will find that having an ejaculatory orgasm is less potent than having one without. And I've witnessed this personally with my partners, and it's just amazing. So it is possible, and women too.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you about. That's okay. So I have a lot of women friends, and when women talk openly, some of them will say that they very often, in their words, fake orgasm or don't reach orgasm, or and they perhaps haven't, and they can't from in their words from penetrative sex, and they get only orgasm when they're by themselves. What is it? Does Tantra help women reach orgasm in a way that they would feel satisfied, joyful, feel pleasure?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it comes back to a woman, to women who cannot have orgasm with penetrative sex,
Mm-hmm.
with a man, or penetrative sex, period. Because you cannot have it with a man. I mean, you could if eventually, but if you haven't had it yourself. So every single woman
Mm-hmm.
can have a cervical orgasm, A spot, G spot, different part, everyone. And every woman can also have ejaculatory orgasm, squirting as we call it. So everyone, but you need to be able to have it on yourself. You need to know yourself enough. I know that I only got into masturbation because of my Catholic upbringing in my late 30s. I felt shame to do it before. Seriously. I mean, you know. So that's also why I was having a lot of boyfriends, because I was so sexual, but I wasn't comfortable being sexual with myself, because society told me basically it's not okay,
Mm.
or what's wrong with you, or so. And it's only when I started my own masturbation practice that I was able to reach cervical, A spot, and all this, because women need to de-armor their vagina also, because we have so much shame that we've carried, that there are parts of it that are painful.
Yeah.
Also, women, and if I may just, every man listening, do not bump into a cervix. So none of this. This hurts so much. Okay, the cervix is a very sensitive area. Approach it with kindness, or don't touch it at all, right? And a lot of women are really sore when they first start masturbating, and touching the cervix, very painful, because there's a lot of trauma and emotional tension here. So in order to have a cervical orgasm, you need to de-armor the cervix. In order to have a G-spot orgasm, you may need to de-armor your G-spot. And I guide women actually on de-armoring session. I teach couples how to de-armor each other, how to de-armor yourself. And that's basically doing an internal pussy massage or a penis massage, and literally going through the knots and dissipating breathing and sounding and different things. So once you have no more armor and you're soft, now the blood flow will come. Now there'll be more blood, there'll be more moisture, there'll be more surrender. A woman's ability to have the deep vaginal orgasm needs to be surrendered and trusted, and a heart open. The clitoris is easy because I can be closed at heart and I can have an orgasm, because it's a superficial, outside of my body orgasm. It's intense. It's a firecracker. It's very much like an ejaculation for men, but it's not heart opening. It's not mindset shifting. When you allow yourself to open, cervix connects with the heart, reflexology point, and the tip of the penis connects with a man's heart. So literally, if instead a man was massaging around the cervix or screwing around the cervix for an hour, like a massager without goal, any other goal, and then she can relax into it more and more and more and more, pain will be removed, there'll be breath, there'll be connection, there'll be heart to heart. You really get to that state. And in masturbation, it's not a technical touch, it's an emotional surrender. So if you can come to the point of loving your vagina so much, and it's a weird thing to say, and a lot of women are disgusted by their vagina, they have never looked at it in a mirror, or like even just opened and looked with a mirror, or they're like, oh, mine is not good, it's not a pretty one. How can you have a heart opening cervical orgasm if there's a part of you that has a little bit of disgust around your vagina, right? So that's the work. For women, sexuality is very emotional. Like the heart needs to be open before the vagina opens. For
Mm-hmm.
men, their penis needs to be open in order for the heart to open. So men find love through penetration, physical penetration. Women need to be in love in order to have a physical opening.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the same place, but differently. And so that's what I would say to these women is there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't met yourself in love deep enough, and you haven't spent enough time worshiping pussy. And she loves to be worshipped. You need to look at her, you need to compliment her, and you'll feel that she'll start coming to life because she loves attention. The origin of the world loves attention, but you're not giving it. And so, how can you expect a man to do what you haven't been able to do on your own? Right? So, that's what I would say. But there's nothing broken.
I'm sure a lot of people will be, reassured and empowered by hearing that, really, because I do think, and again, maybe back to porn and back to society, that we almost have this view that, and it's such a terrible description, that vaginas are meant to be sort of neat and tidy, and everyone's different, and I think there's a sort of a joke that's often made that when men are asked about vaginas, say, "Well, I haven't met one I don't like." I think men are very happy to be down there or to be around a vagina. I think so. I think and they all are different. They feel different. They taste different. They smell different. They're everything about them, and it's yeah. Sorry, I've taken a lot of your time. Are you okay for a little bit longer?
I am. I'm realizing I might run out of battery in 20 minutes.
Okay, we'll make sure I finish in 20 minutes. Well, one of the things you said was that, which I really, really, truly believe, and I think it's something that I really want to explore, is that once you have welcome Tantra into your life, and you have a more fulfilling and more joyful, more pleasurable sex life, then the rest of your life improves as well, because you're not going to have a terrible time at work and then come home and be wonderfully tantric. It's going to want to go through your whole life. And I wondered if it were almost the other way, that our nutrition choices, what we eat, on our general lifestyle, does that have a positive impact on our ability to embrace Tantra?
It does, if you're doing those changes from a loving place, not as abuse.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? A lot of people abuse themselves in the gym, like killing themselves literally, or they're putting themselves on a juice fast forever, and stop eating the foods they love and just develop, an unhealthy relationship with their food. Yes. So being a nutritionist specialized in sexual health, the trifecta of great sex is blood flow to the genitals, nerve sensitivity, and hormone balance. Meaning if you have too much cortisol and adrenaline, not enough, testosterone and progesterone and estrogen, it's not going to be as pleasurable. Very different. Stress hormones reduces sensations in a lot of ways. So anyway, so you need those three. Your diet affects those three. It affects your blood flow. It affects your nerve sensitivity. Some food will actually mushrooms being top of my mind right now for nerves. You can regenerate nerve endings. If you've had like neuropathy, one mushroom every day in your diet will start healing the nerve endings and the shaft that surround the nerves. And then hormone balanced certain foods will actually, repair your adrenals, your kidneys, and rebalance, your hormones. So yes, you will feel more sexually vital if you eat a certain way. And so when you feel sexually vital, and it doesn't take long here either, 1 week of changing your diet. So funny, I created a method called Hormonize. So it's harmonize your hormone. That's a diet, like Hormonize. So eating for your hormone. In 2 weeks, you can go from having zero libido to literally just being turned on all the time. And it's a beautiful thing. There's a whole conversation. What do I do with all this turn on? But it's very quick. The body is so quick. When you are taking care of the body, changes happen fast. And so, yes, you'll feel more vital. You'll feel more sexually alive. You'll feel better. And when you feel better, what doesn't make you feel good in your life stands out. right?
Yeah.
And so you can only eat so much good food, but it will never fix the job that's not for you or the relationship that's toxic, right? So that's what I noticed when I was a nutritionist. That's all I was doing is my people were getting better up to a point,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then after we had to get into the lifestyle, and I call them primary and secondary food. So you need primary food and secondary food. So the secondary foods are the food you eat and what you drink to nourish the machine,
Mm-hmm.
the body. And then the primary food that also nourish you, it's nourishment in a non-edible form. It's a job you love, a spiritual practice that and connects you to soul and purpose, a physical like movements that work for you, relationships that nurture you, like all of those things. Those are a home environment that feels soothing. This is primary food. And I want to say that if your primary food is on point, generally what you eat, you could eat a burger every day or have French fries, like you would still be healthy. You see people that eat not so good, but have a life that they love with very little stress, and there's sun and there's the ocean, and they live long lives, even if their diet is so-so. So, you know, you need both. But you'll go faster, quicker in healing your health, working on the primary foods.
Mm.
But if you want to take a small step in the right direction, then work on your diet, work on your exercise, get that sexual vitality. And then once you feel healthier, more energetic, then take on the other things.
Mm.
But I feel that having a daily masturbation practice is also extremely helpful.
So this is like a tantra podcast more than a regular podcast because it just lasts much longer and it's much more joyful. So thank you. It's just it's just opening my heart and my brain to lots of things I had thought about, but not had somebody with so much knowledge and wisdom. And one of the things, and you sort of mentioned it before in passing, was that so these things you can develop quite quickly, and you can suddenly find yourself full of. Sorry, I keep having to let the little dog in and out. Come on, there we go. And so things can happen quite quickly, and you can suddenly feel full of sexual desire and sexual energy, and you can perhaps want to have sex more often with your partner. So what happens in a situation where your desire and need for sex and frequency and different things differs between partners? Because let me go back a second, and I know the answer is, well, you're with the wrong partner, go and find somebody else. But
not necessarily.
But then I think, because one of the things that I do often think is, and I said this before, you're together 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, and perhaps the things that you enjoyed doing sexually 20 years ago, okay, it's the same old, and you might perhaps want to explore different things, and you might want to explore different sensations and different experiences and try new things, but you never really talked about it. So you perhaps be thinking about, I really, really want to try X, whatever X is. And you suddenly say to your partner, I really, really want you to try doing this. And your partner looks at you in sort of horror, but I never thought about it. How do you reconcile if partners are on a different wavelength? Gosh, that was a very long question. I'm not sure what the question is,
No,
but
it's a
I
great
think you'll
question.
figure it out.
Yeah. So two things. There's two things here. One is varying sexual desire.
Yep.
If both partners are interested in sex, you can reconcile that really quickly in just coming to the bedroom, meaning sex becomes meditation and a practice. In tantric sex, sex is a practice because it's a portal towards a better version of you, right? It's a portal for you to get to know yourself, to go deeper into yourself. So sex becomes not something you do on Saturdays. It becomes a practice.
Yeah.
Just like you would do yoga. Somebody who really, really want to get good at yoga is going to do yoga 4 or 5 times a week. So if you want to get better at sex and have a better sex life, you're going to do it 4 or 5 times a week. It's just the same as anything else. If you get better at finances, get better at, I don't know, anything, you're going to put your attention into it and practice it. So sex becomes a practice, and it's a meditative practice because it's a self. So if you have both the desire to reconcile or to level up, then you will have this intention in your practice, in your sex, right? So that's how it goes. Now, the other question was about how do I speak about my desires to my partner? So the most important thing, so that here I'll take my tantric sex coach hat for couples, is to create safety. You can't just start discussing your desires without creating a safe space. So, and safety is not just a physical safety, it's an emotional safety, meaning that there is a culture that you've established in your relationship where you can speak about everything and anything and be held in love and respect by your partner. And you could tell anything. Like you could even tell, I murdered somebody, the body's buried in my backyard, and your partner will hold space for you without judging. Like that's, and you have to build that in order to have edgy conversation. I equate the relationship to a river. So I live in New York City, and we have the Hudson River there. So you have the Jersey side and the Manhattan side. So the river there, you want to keep it clean. A river where you can bathe and play and sail on adventures and jet ski on it and whatever, right? The river has to be pure and clean. And so both parties need to come to the river feeling taking charge of their own moods and their own mindset. So they don't arrive to the river with blame, with anger, with, whatever is going to be polluting the river. So if you're feeling fear, blame, anger, disappointment towards your partner, you have to, and you feel it in your body, like it would actually show up as something, polluting in the river. You have to take care of yourself, calm down, reconcile. First, look at yourself. If you have resentment for your partner, you have to look towards yourself. Is what resentment towards yourself, anger towards yourself. You have to work your things. So you get to the river with the intention of being there in order to present yourself loving, non-judgmental, caring, respectful, and holding space. And there, in that environment, you can say anything you want to say. And holding space is when you can hear and say, listening and not interjecting, not cutting, not reacting, not judging, not blaming, not, you can feel all those things, because if your husband comes and say, I want a threesome, and I really like your neighbor, she's really pretty, and I think that she likes us too, and I like to invite her in the bedroom, if that's not something you had thought about, you might feel a lot of things. Holding space means that you feel all this, but you're not showing it. Meaning, I feel shocked and I feel scared, but I love you. I hold space for you. Please tell me more. And so you can say everything so you explain, and then you can say, how do you see play? Why would you like that? How would that make you feel? You can ask all the question, have the conversation, and in the meantime, you're self-regulating, right? And then when your partner has said everything, then you can say, if you feel you're not ready to talk, and you're like, oh my God, hell no. If the hell no, you can't say hell no. You say, wow, I need to think about it, honey. That's a surprising statement. I love you. Thank you so much for trusting me and sharing this. But I'm going to need a little bit of time to think about it, and I'll come back and ask you some more questions and so on. And then you just go to the bedroom and you cry or call it, whatever you do, like you have to do. But that's the river you have, right? And most people don't have that, so they can say this, right? And so that's safety is number one. And I work a lot with men, and I've listened to men a lot, and women have women don't make it safe for men to speak. Let's just be, I'm sorry, ladies may be a bit triggered hearing this, but we are not making it safe for them to speak. And so they go silent. They don't share. It's like, honey, be open your heart, talk to me. But the thing he really wants to talk about, if he says them, you're going to shut him off, right? So so we're talking about negative and positive poles, penis and vagina. Men's heart is the negative pole, women is positive pole. We have a battery inside us, so you can move energy up and down this way. That means that a man's heart being a negative pole, it's closed. Just like our vaginas are generally closed to penetration. Until our heart, our positive pole opens, as women, then our vagina opens. So for man to open his heart, you cannot have a conversation. So women have a penetrative, they're emotionally aggressive. They'll come and they penetrate men's heart like this. They're the penetrator in a man's heart. And men's heart have this like big, warrior armor. It's shut until it's safe to open up. And one way that men open their heart, and I'm not telling you men what, I'm saying what I'm hearing, what men have told me, right? Is that they feel their heart opens more easily when they make love in penetration. They penetrate, they feel cocoon inside a plush, warm vagina, and their heart melts, okay? So if you're going to have a conversation and there's no sex, and you expect him to speak without being in that physical, because men are physical, in that physical cocooning environment, then you have to make the space for conversation very safe and very cushiony. Meaning he could tell you anything. He could tell you, sorry, honey, I slept with somebody, or I want to sleep with somebody. He could tell you his biggest shame, and you would not judge. So that's the river. So both men and women need to first create that river and learn in peaceful time, how to self-regulate and then up the stakes. And in my session, I do that. I actually have an exercise called, it's called fear, desire, and love. So you start saying it to each other. We create the river, we hold ourselves there, and then take turns sharing what we're afraid of, what I'm afraid of, what I desire, and what I love about you. And so you start with really your vulnerable spot. I'm afraid that, if I don't have sex more often with you, you will leave me. A woman could say, oh, I'm afraid that you're gonna, you want many more women and you don't find me pretty enough and blah, blah, blah. So all the fears come out. And then you can name your desires, and then you can name your loves and connect and bond here. But so it's a practice. But that's how you do it. So you just need to create the environment before you can actually speak your desire.
It's absolutely fascinating, and I talked to a really wonderful lady in Poland a few months ago called Alexa Creed, and she's a dominatrix, and she's quite young, and she's very vivacious, and she was absolutely fascinating. And one of the things she said, which really aligns with what you're saying, is that a lot of the reason that men come to her is because they feel they've been programmed to be dominant and not show the submissive side of themselves. And it's not about men necessarily coming to me and wanting to be whipped or walked on with high heels, whatever. Sometimes it is, but generally it's much more of they want to feel slightly dominated and to be more submissive to somebody. And she was saying that she finds it fascinating that men will happily come to her to talk about these things, a stranger, somebody they're paying, etc., rather than the person they've been with for 20, 30 years. And it's what you said. It's that because we have a fear. Okay, but I talk about so rather than I have a fear that my wife is going to think, oh my goodness, what do you want to do that for? Oh my goodness, why do you want to try that? Or we've never talked about that. I don't think my friends do that. And I think there's that fear of then that not only impacting what happens in the bedroom, it impacts everything else, because your fear your wife thinks about you as something different or something odd, and it's not. And that's whereas if you go and talk to a stranger and they have some training and they understand what the situation is and they can comfort you and they can help you explore the more submissive side of yourself, it's just easier. So no, I thought it was really
safer.
It's
safer.
It's weird.
Right?
You turn this thing to a complete stranger, but it's safer than saying it's the person you've been married to for 20 years and have 5 children with or whatever. It's very, because I guess it becomes more transactional. So for that hour, I can do this thing. I can be told what to do. I can make my mistress a cocktail or whatever. I can do these things for an hour. Then I leave it and I go back to my normal life, sort of satisfied for that week or that month, whatever. Whereas in our home life, it can't be compartmentalized. It's everything, isn't it? Everything connects together, and we all river keeps flowing. It doesn't stop. It doesn't go where it shouldn't go. So yeah, it's interesting that we feel safer in that actually practically more unsafe environment, where the home is a safer environment.
Well, so safety is an experience we give ourselves. So that's also what I explained. There's no objective description of safety. It's what it feels safe or it doesn't. And so it feels safer in that environment than at home, because indeed sex is connected to everything. That's what I keep saying from the beginning. It's like sex is the core of everything. But what if you were able to have the same level of intimacy and safety that you can really say everything? It doesn't mean you're going to act on everything, but you could say it, and your wife could hold your desire with love and compassion. She could love you and know that at the same time, in the same reality. Even if she's a no, meaning I don't want this experience, but she would not think any less of you. And in fact, she would feel more for you because you had the guts to tell her. And even though she's a no, you're staying.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, imagine that. And no, now, we don't know. Maybe in 5 years, you're like, you know what? I think it could be really fun because maybe she needs that time. So that's the benchmark. But safety is something we give ourselves. And a lot of women don't feel safe with men either. That's why they're not able to have orgasms. Because they're not surrendered, they're guarded. In their vagina, they're negative pole, just like men are guarded in their heart. So this is, and porn is safe for men. Let's talk about porn, since you're mentioning safety. What men have told me is a lot of men go to porn because they have been shamed by women, or they've been touched the wrong way, or they've been criticized or rushed in sex by women, or made fun of by women during a sex sesh, right? Sex session. And so they basically just are afraid of women. And porn, you're not judged in porn. It's you and your screen. It's safe. The porn star is not going to tell you, oh, whatever. So it's a safe place to be sexual. There's no rejection there.
No.
There's no, titillating or making fun of you, or making fun of your penis shape or size, or the fact that it's, you're too slow or too fast or too whatever, or your body's like this, like that. And I want women to understand that, because they think that something's wrong if the men come to porn. Men want love. They penetrate not because they want an orgasm and an ejaculation. They want to be met in love, because that's the way, that's the pathway to love. And a lot of women are triggered by this, because they say, my client told me, my man told me that when he makes love to me, it feels loved. And that's why if I don't want to have sex, he feels rejected. It feels like I don't love him. So it feels like it's convenient. It's like, no, it's the truth. So porn, men go to porn not because they're deviant. They're curious. They love diversity. And that's great, isn't it? Right? Men are penetrators. They're adventurers. They're the one who will take you on adventures sexually. And let them be the one taking you there and keeping you safe. They're protectors and providers. Why can it be providers of great sexual adventures and protect you along the way? Right? So sidebar, but so they go to porn for diversity, but a lot of them, when they stay addicted to porn, it's because of that safety. And it's just easier to get what you want and to be met in porn than you are in your real life. And they would give up porn any minute to be met in real life with a real woman in love and ecstasy.
They would. And I think when you talked before about when we have this open dialogue and the other person is holding space for you to talk and you're feeling safe, etc. and then you might have sort of said, "Oh, I would really like to have sex with somebody else, with a different woman," and I can understand why that could be quite challenging to hear if you haven't ever thought about that. But I think sometimes it's how can you perhaps help fulfill that, but in a different way? So rather than saying yes, go and have sex with the lady across the road that wears tight jeans and a tight top, or you say, well, actually, why don't we meet each other in a hotel bar or as strangers, and we don't know each other, and you role play the thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go and do the thing, because that might not really be what the person wants. What they're really saying perhaps is like, I'm a little bit bored, I want to try something different, be more adventurous. So having that role play where you bump into somebody in a coffee shop and you don't know each other, and you go back to an apartment of a friend and just have sex all afternoon and don't see each other ever again. Then the next morning you're there making the kids breakfast. Does that feel like a way to explore fantasies rather than actually having to go the whole way and say, yes, go and have sex with a neighbor?
And that's up to the couple to determine, but you cannot get to that resolution if you don't have a safe space to speak about it. You get to this answer or what works for the couple when you actually have a space where you can say, I would like to explore that kind of sex. And if the person receiving this can actually self-regulate and hold the space safe, then they'll say, what excites you about this? Tell me more. Oh, it's this. It's like, oh, that's interesting. What about this? Like, what would that get you? What would that give you? So when you can hold that space, it means you meet your partner with love. Then the loving things to be is really being curious about his desires. And instead of feeling butthurt, quote, quote, as we would say in the US, and just shutting down and then starting to put blame on him or put him in a category of deviant, or I can't trust him, or maybe thinking about this all the time when we're with the neighbor. Instead, be really curious and go deeper. And it's not about you, it's about him. He comes with something, it's about him. So go deeper and ask and ask and ask. And yes, if you start hearing, I just would like that excitement, that feeling of a stranger, or like go back to the early days, then you can then come together. How about if we did that? Would that work for you? Right? And then you can say, I need to think, yeah, it's great. And then you take it to the step that works. You can say, I'm not ready to do that yet, but how can we? And it's just, it's like, it's not a definite no, because that a definite no is aggressive. Again, it's not about you, it's about him. If you just say no, you shut down what he says, it's really hurtful. So instead, it's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, that I would need to think about it. But what about if we did, going to a bar and be strangers and you pick me up and take me to a hotel, even though we have a home and we're in this town? How's that? Even maybe like an hourly hotel, like a hotel where people go for an hour sex. While we're married, we have 5 kids and we have a beautiful house, but how about we go to one of those hotels? Like something like that. So, but you can only have this collaborative reflection if it's safe, and you generally don't make it about you and your hurt when you're listening to somebody, but really being curious about why he says that. And that safety you create in a relationship, but you have to have it in yourself. So a lot of men and women, all of us, have insecurities. We're not feeling safe. So we have to make ourselves safe. So when, for instance, you hear something like this and you're feeling really unsafe when you hear that, you have, and that's the tantric path again of self-exploration, you have to ask yourself, what part of me is feeling really uneasy right now? And why? And can I love myself through this? Can I love maybe it's that little girl who was abandoned, blah, 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 blah. Can I maybe self-soothe myself, that part of myself? Because there's another part of you that knows how good your man is, how trustworthy he is, that you can believe him, right? That you trust him. And that's the part that needs to shine and be there. But we all will be triggered at some point. So creating a safe space is having a commitment to really feeling what you feel, not shutting yourself down, addressing your needs, but keeping yourself safe. It's not your man's responsibility to keep you safe emotionally. It's you, you know?
You talked a lot about men and women and the magnetic pull between penis and vagina and the sort of connection they have, whatever. Is it possible that you could have fulfilling tantric sex with another woman and I could with another man, or does it?
Yes, absolutely. Energetic. Energy is not gender biased.
Okay.
And even two men, one could have the feminine pull, the feminine energy, and then the masculine energy. So absolutely. Yeah. It is not gender specific.
Do you find that you're still learning things about yourself even after all the time and energy and effort you've put into to understanding yourself? Do you still learn things new about yourself every day?
Every day. And more, and it's going faster and faster. So because, and I'm starting to really comprehend what great meditators have said when I said there's a world inside of us, and it takes more than a lifetime to get it. But there's more richness inside than there is on the outside world. And it's once you get there, every day you feel, so if you're very embodied, you feel your body every day. You can feel what feels good, what doesn't feel good, moment to moment. When you're sensitive, you can really feel, and then you can navigate and like, does that decision at work? So at work, I navigate also. I mean, my body, my clients, I'm listening to my clients and I'm listening to the stories and I'm feeling what I feel. And I'm like, oh, it's interesting. Why does it feel this way when I hear that story? What does it feel like? What about me? And then you get deeper into this. And I'm building something, a new movement right now. It's something that I'm so passionate about, so much desire about creating this thing. And I can feel the fear of creating this. And I feel the excitement. I feel so many things. So so I'm learning about myself in that professional venture. Right. So when you live life, and that's why Tantra says you have to be embodied, because that's how you get to a spiritual being, is when you are so present in life that you can take the lessons as they come, and the lessons are in your body. That feels good, that doesn't feel good, this feels like this feels like that, why is that? And be curious. And you and everything that you do opens a new door, a new experience, and then you get curious. So yes, is the answer to your question. And you live life more and more vibrantly also, because you start feeling, because joy is limitless. You can create more joy. You can increase your capacity to love. When you're able to love someone, not from a possessive, when we're younger, when we're in our teens, when we're kids, when we're infants under 6 years old, our love is possessive. You want your parents just for you.
Yeah.
Right. And then you reach your mid-40s. It's like, I can love my man even if he's with another woman. I can love my husband even if he leaves me. If you can get to that space and not, oh, he likes that girl, get out of here. You're a bad man. Meanwhile, you spent 20 years with this man. And we'll do a lot of good things with this man, right?
Yeah.
So if you keep that childhood possessiveness through all the way through your 40s, you haven't grown. But if you have grown, and what makes you go from possessive love to unconditional love is the safety you've created for yourself, inside yourself, whereby you are parenting and you are your own lover. I don't need a man to love me. I love myself. Plenty. He's with me, but if he leaves, I will not be diminished. That's one of the big growths that I had. And it's why it took me time to have my divorce, because I was like, what's going to happen to me if I divorce? What's going to happen to our business? I'm going to be empty. And what I found was, on the other side of it, because we did the work, I did the work, I wanted to keep the love, that opened me to this. Is true unconditional love is when you're able to tell the truth, and you're willing to die. I mean, your old self is willing to die in order to grow to the next level. So I feel that almost every day there's a little death of me. Like, this thought has to go. This pattern has to go. This is better. This is where I'm heading. And when I had my divorce, I hired 3 coaches, tantric, and just different coaches. And one of them, because I needed help, I have to grow, I have to save the love, what do I need to learn? How do I advance me? And I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm a divorcee, I'm 40, and like, who's gonna ever want me? How will I ever find love again? It's just like the world ended. And I was like, who am I? And I was like, how do you know who you are? And I said, I don't know who I am. It's interesting when people describe me. I love when people describe me. Oh, Karen, she's like this, like that. She says, it's like fantasy. It's like, that's how they see me. She says, I don't know conceptually who I am, but I know that my actions are true.
Mm-hmm.
Moment to moment, I act in a way that is quintessentially in alignment with who I am. I can't tell you who I am, because who I was yesterday is a completely different person of who I am right now. She's one of my lights. She's such a star, and she's growing so fast. It's really, really incredible. It's hard to find a partner when you grow that fast. When you have really truly spiritual people that are committed to their personal growth, it's really hard to be I'm imagining, unless you have a partner that's also committed like this. But this opened my eyes when she said, the person I was yesterday or even a week ago is radically different from who I am today. But what I can tell you is my answer to you will always be true, and my actions will always be true and in alignment with who I am 1,000%. And that's all. So somebody describing me may describe the Karen from a year ago that they knew back in that environment. And so why do you care about who you are? Care more about what you do and how you are in the moment, and be truly aligned with what is true. So radical honesty from that point, that's actually started my divorce. Radical honesty is the language of love, is what I discovered. Because there was more love in my divorce and my grief than there was before, where I was trying to get something I couldn't have, and I was resentful, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you become radically honest with someone, you had to be radically honest with yourself. I had to tell myself, I want experiences that are unusual, right? That's who I am. I'm an adventurer in love. I can love multiple men. This is who I am. It doesn't make me bad or good. This is just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I can now be radically honest with my husband and say, I'm not fulfilled. And in that courage that comes with radical honesty, love can be there, because love is courageous. True love is really courageous. And unconditional love is super, super love. You know what I mean?
I think that's a perfect place to end. Thank you so much for your, honesty, knowledge, and for sharing it all with us. I'm really can't wait to listen back now to unpick everything you said. There's so much there, and I could easily talk to you for many more hours, but I should give you some of your week back. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for yours too, and your invitation.